now we're going to get on to removing this AC box. So a couple of small things have to come off first. There's a mesh screen on top. There's a 7mm, or a couple of them that hold that in. These wiper arms, and I'm going to go ahead and take the transmission for the wiper arm assembly loose, get all that out. So I'm going to start with this cowl to rear hood seal. This just presses on, so we're going to pull that off. Just lay that right up there. And then let me grab the camera and move in a little bit closer, and I'll show you some of this stuff up here that needs to come out. Okay, so let's get the wiper arms off. These are actually quite easy. If you pull the arm all the way up, there's a small little tab that sticks out. Pull that to the side, and it locks the arm in an upward position, and it releases tension, and then you can pop the wiper arm off. If you look on the back side, it is keyed. Same thing with the spindle here. There's a key on it, so the arm only goes on one way. Good time. So that's done. We'll sit that right there. And there are 3 bolts that hold this on. Remember how I said everything on this car was metric? 7/16. 7/16 takes this off. We'll get these off, and then we'll do the other side the same way. Now if you'll see on the other side, this is keyed with this huge metal block on it, and the inside of this one is left almost completely open. So you can't even mix left and right. So it makes it pretty easy. So now we come to the other side. This is the fresh air intake for the AC box, AC/heater box. And it has a screen over it, like you'd see in a screen door. This is to keep large debris from getting down into the well. And actually, that looks pretty clean down there. I'm actually quite surprised. You can see a lot of gunk down there. But honestly, that could be a layer of gunk for all I know. I'm not going to tell until I get this whole thing off. So we're going to go and remove all these screws. They're all 7mm. There's one here at the far end. Come to the center. There's 2 where this squirter is at. There's 1 here in the center. And then it hangs over the end, and there are 2 out here on this end. All those come off, and then we just lift this screen off. So let me get this camera out of the way so I can free my hands up, and we'll get that loose. All right, with that out of the way, I'm just going to take the squirter and the hose, just move that off to the side, and then raise this up. And make sure I don't knock any debris down into, I've already got loose here, some insulation coming off with it. So anyway, so there that is, that's all out. Let's get that off to the side. So now that's done, we're going to start unbolting some of the external stuff for the box to get it off. First thing, there is a very small ground wire that goes from the firewall into the heater core, which we'll discuss later, but that needs to come off. Okay, peel that loose. Let's just stick that right up there so it's out of the way. The bolt for that ground wire was 10mm, as are all the bolts that go around for the entire box. So I'm going to go around here, take all these loose, and then we'll move to a couple bolts that need to come loose on the inside of the vehicle. So those 10mm bolts are loose and out. And now basically the only thing holding this in on this side is just the seal around the opening in the firewall. But we got to go inside the vehicle. There's a couple little connections in there we got to take care of, and then we'll come back out here. Let's dig back down into the inside of the car. Let's go right here, see if we can see this. There is, that servo right there controls air that goes up to the defrost for the window. That stays in the vehicle. So there is this one rubber vacuum line that's on that. That needs to come loose. So we'll pull that. So get this off. And you can see when it goes on, this goes around in the pipe and kind of holds it in place. So make sure that when you take it off, you have to pull that with it. So now that's off. The rest of this is going to go out with the heater box. So let's look at a couple of bolts that need to come loose. Now at the center, you've got two 7mm screws here that hold, basically it's a piece of the bottom ducting, and then this is one of the pieces that holds this top ducting in place. So those two 7mm have to come out. So those two are loose. Let's move over to the passenger side of the vehicle for one last disconnect. So now over on the passenger side, you have this clip. It's just basically spring loaded in place. Make sure all that's loose. I think there's some wiring. I think there's some speaker wire. Yeah, right here. That's probably not going to come out with the vehicle. Come out with the AC box. So that stays inside the car. And right over here, the harness has its own ground wire, and it goes right up into the middle. That is a 10mm screw. That needs to come out as well. So I'm going to take that out, and then there'll be no more connections in here that need to be removed, and we should be able to pull this thing right out. Now back outside the vehicle, that should be everything. And okay, understand, if you're doing this and the fender and the rest of the car is still together, you're going to have to take off, you have to jack up the vehicle, take off this tire, and take off the plastic inner fender well, and to get to some of the bolts. And even then, this is going to be a bear to get out because it's quite large. And inside, with the dash still in the way, if you take out the radio and the AC control, you can get to those two bolts in the back, and everything else you can get from underneath the servo, the ground wire. So anyway, so now everything is loose. This thing, as long as I can break this seal and it's not glued on here so tight that it's going to be hard to get off, this whole thing should come out. You got to tilt it down. I have to clear this metal over here, so it's going to have to kind of scoot this way and then out, but it should come out as one big unit. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, crack the seal on it. There it is. Seal doesn't want to let go. Somewhere there. Okay. Come down and pull out. There it is. All right. Got one connector in here. It's going to need to come loose. I missed this one. This guy stays in there. Everything else comes out. Come on. Wire stuck. There it is. And there's the whole unit out of the car. The box is out of the car. I forgot to mention, now I've mentioned this in other videos, bag and tag, boys and girls, bag and tag. So what I did was I broke everything down into individual parts, and I'm going to put that in one large bag labeled AC box. That way when this thing goes back together, there's no guessing about what bolt went where. It's all labeled and ready to go. So I think now that's it. So if you like this video, click the like button and do me a favor and click the subscribe. So the next video I got, you'll know about it. And if you got somebody you think you might like this video, share it with them. It helps me out quite a bit. So now we are working on the AC box. I think I want to tear this apart and try to clean it up. First thing I want to do is check these vacuum actuators and make sure that they're okay. So the one here on the end is a dual actuator. It has vacuum on either side of it, and it'll move this blend door up and down. So we're going to check yellow, and then we'll check the red. So good engine vacuum somewhere between 17 to 22. I'm going to see low vacuum, like let's do 15. See if it actually actuates the door. I hold this in place. Yeah, and the door goes down. And then it goes back up to its neutral position. Now let's try red. Red's back here. And it should raise the door. All right. There's like 12 inches of vacuum. That holds that up pretty good. All right, so by doing this, I have not only checked the actuator, but I've also checked the vacuum hose in this connector. I'm going to cheat the system because this blue hose is actually for the door in the vehicle. So what I'm going to do is disconnect the red, put on the blue, and if this vacuum hose is okay, then that actuator should work just the way the red one did. And it's holding. So there you go. So we'll put this back where it's supposed to be. So we got a couple more actuators we got to check. Let me move this around and we'll check that one. All right, this one is the orange vacuum line. So let's hold that. Apply some vacuum. Yes. Okay. And it's holding. Very good. Let's go inside the vehicle and we'll check that defrost door, make sure that's working right. One more actuator to go. Let's hook this up. Let's see if I can get a good vacuum pull. That's 15 inches. And it's holding quite well. Love it. Okay. Thank goodness, because these actuators are somewhere between 40 and 50 bucks a pop. Let's take a look down inside the box. So that doesn't look as bad. I've seen a lot worse. So this is pretty good. So the leaf guard did its job, got most of the trash out, but there is debris in there that's going to need to be cleaned out. So I'm going to disassemble this entire box and try to clean everything as best that I can. Let me show you something. This looks like, if you look down in here, you're like, oh, this isn't bad, everything's cool. But let me show you something. With the box on its side, you can see that there's a hole over here. This hole is to allow any water or condensation from the evaporator to drain out. And then you go over here and there's this little rubber door. And this rubber door is there to basically allow water to go past this that comes off of the windshield through that leaf guard. So from the top, it looks like, oh, it's not too bad. Let's look at it from the bottom. Oh, look at that. Let me get this door held up by this vacuum line and get in there. That is almost completely blocked with crap. So even if you're not doing an evap pull, if you're not doing any of this work, it is worth it just to get underneath. If you've got a GBody, check that flap, make sure it's clean. If it's not, get in there with a screwdriver or something and clean that out. Because what will happen is if that gets completely blocked, the rainwater will build up inside that well, and then at some point it will overflow into the inside of the car, and then eventually you're going to get rusted out floor pans. So you don't want any of that, so check this real quick, make sure that's good to go. Let's get into tearing this thing apart. First we're going to get rid of these electrical connectors. Pop these off and out of the way. So remember how I said that you're going to have metric and standard side by side. And here you go. 7mm you're going to need for a couple of these brackets. I'll sit that up here for now. All of these bolts that hold down this top cover plate, they're all 1/4 inch. So I'm going to start taking off these 1/4 inch bolts, and then we'll get to the 7mm bolts on the brackets. Okay, let's get this bracket off here. This is 7mm. Oh. 1/4 inch hiding here. Let me get that one. Get this 7mm on this bracket right here. It holds the one tube for the evaporator onto this bracket, so we'll get that loose. That way we can, there we go, swing this out of the way so that's not going to get bent. I think that should be it. Let's get all these 1/4 inch bolts out of the way. So we're going to be quite careful with this. Again, I've said this multiple times, everything on this vehicle, all this plastic, it's all over 30 years old. So what we don't want to do is end up busting something. So if you can get a flat blade in to a spot, try not to force it, just rock it back and forth, and you can start to see. Some of these, if they've been cracked into before, they'll use a sealant on this and it'll be super glued to this. And I had one on a Caprice that it's like an 85 Caprice that I had. I ended up cracking the housing in like a couple of spots just because the heater core had been replaced, or the evaporator or something, and they had glued it down with I don't know what, but it did not want to come back up, and I ended up having to break it in a couple of spots just to get it loose. So just be patient, it's starting to move. So it's just stock, it's like this, it's like Dum Dum. It's just a rubber sealant that's in there. So start on this side. Okay, this side looks like it's pretty loose. I'm going to go around and try the same thing on the other side. See if I can find a spot where I can get my screwdriver in. Just rock it in a couple of spots. The side's pulled up. Okay, I think this may come off now. There it is. So that's the whole underside. There's the cage, a squirrel cage for your blower motor, a resistor, everything. Everything looks good too. I don't see any major signs of damage, so we're going to set this off to the side. So I told you that I would explain this ground wire that is hooked up. Let me see if I can get this foam loose. It's hard to tell. This may be, with the mileage that was on it when I got it, I'm going to say a lot of this stuff is going to be stock components. So this ground wire that goes to the firewall is hooked to the top of the connector for the heater core. So I looked online, and there's a lot of theory behind this. So the coolant, because of the glycol in the coolant, sometimes can go through or actually turn a bit acidic over time, and you'll get electrolysis that'll happen in the system. And basically this thing can become cathodic, and then the radiator may become anodic, or basically it's like a cathode and anode. And you can actually have a small amount of voltage go through your coolant system. And one way to check that is to take a voltmeter and put the negative to the negative on the battery, and then put the positive into the coolant while the engine is running and the coolant is flowing. Make sure you don't touch any metal on the sides. Put it directly into the center where it's touching nothing but coolant. And if you get, and check AC and DC both. I know it's a direct current system, but sometimes if the alternator goes bad, you might have some AC in the system. So just check both, direct current and AC. And if you've got 0.4 volts or more, you might want to think about changing your coolant out, because it might have gotten to the point where it's acidic. So basically this ground strap is supposed to ground out the heater core and then stop it from corroding itself on the inside. So it's just electrolysis is what it's doing. So this, and there's a lot of argument online about whether this is necessary or not. It came from the factory with this ground strap on it, so I think I'm going to keep it. Even though the heater core that I have, this one is copper, and the one I have I believe is aluminum. So I'm not even sure if it's needed anymore. But like I said, it came from the factory with it. I might either clean this one up if it can be cleaned up and it's okay to use. If not, I'll buy another one. And I'm just going to, I might buy another one just to make it longer, and then bolt it farther down on the firewall so you can't see it. Anyway, so this is the heater core. So you've got inlet and outlet for your coolant. So it goes through here, and basically the blower motor pushes that hot air that's emitting off of this into the car. That's how you get your heat. This is the evaporator. So this is your AC system. An evaporator does just what it says. The freon that goes into this evaporates. So you've got your compressor pushing out high pressure gas, and it goes to the condenser at the front of the vehicle. That's the big grill. That's the big radiator in front of your coolant radiator. So with fresh air and with the coolant fan moving air past that, it changes it from a high pressure gas to a high pressure liquid. It comes around to the orifice tube, and it gets turned from a high pressure liquid to a low pressure liquid, and it goes into the evaporator. And basically what happens is it goes in a low pressure liquid at the bottom, and then this thing extracts hot air out of the surrounding air around it, and the freon inside evaporates as it rises to the top and then makes its way out. And that evaporation is what makes this thing so cold, and that's what cools the vehicle. And then it goes back to the compressor, and then starts all over again, and it just constantly is pumping that. So that's why your level of freon in this is so important. If you don't have enough, it may come in with not enough pressure, and then it doesn't evaporate properly, so you might get not full evaporation out of this, and then it won't cool the way it should. So, and the same thing with overpressurization. If it overpressurizes, it's the same thing. It's got to be right in that sweet spot, or it won't work correctly. All right, so the top is off. I'm gonna look and see if there's. I'm gonna get these out in a little bit, but I'm gonna look to see if there's anything else I can disconnect to clean this up. The gas, I got to break out the gasket kit as well because I have a new seal kit for everything on this, so I can seal it back up. So let me turn this off and look at some stuff, and I'll be back. Well, I think I'll start here by taking the heater core and the evaporator out. Since I've left the accumulator attached, if I come down here, there is a 10mm bolt that holds this circular clamp that holds the accumulator in place. So if I get this loose, I think I should be able to just pull the thing up as a unit. There. Now let's see if we can get this thing yanked out. Oh, look at all the crud down at the bottom. Oh, good thing I'm doing this, huh? Now onto the heater core. There's one bolt at the top that holds this ground strap. It also holds this clip that presses this down in place. There's a 5/16 screw. Get that out. And then the thing just flops loose. I think I'll keep the ground strap with that. So this clip holds that in place. So we put that off to the side. And then we can just lift this thing right out. Nothing to it. So now with the unit up on its side, I am going to take the rightmost part of the housing off, which will give me more access to the door underneath, because it looks like the foam backing or whatever that's on there is completely deteriorated. So if it doesn't come in the kit, I'm going to have to find a way to maybe make some type of replacement for that, because it's all goobered up. So there's 4 external screws that need to come out. They're all 1/4 inch, and there's one bugger that's up inside the vent. So let me show you that one. So looking at it from another angle, you can see down inside there, there's one 1/4 inch screw that's holding onto that metal plate, so that needs to come loose in order to get the housing out. So I'm going to take that one out, and then I'll take the 4 on the outside. With those 5 screws removed, this side of the housing should separate and come off, and this vacuum actuator and the door inside should come with it. Be very careful. The shaft that door pivots on, the end of it sticks through the end of the plastic here. So when you pull this out, make sure that you pull it away from the plastic so you don't jack that pin up or mess it up somehow. So that needs to come straight back. So now with all the screws out, I should be able, yeah, so that pulls right out. So that's cool. Let me back the camera up a little bit and we'll take this off. Alright, so let's get our yellow and red vacuum lines removed. Oh. So we're going to be separating this from the rest of the housing. All right, so taking that one bolt out off this metal thing gave it a chance to pivot and get it out. Before I tried leaving it in, and I was having a hard time down here with this cutout. So that one screw removed gave me just enough movement to get this thing out. So let me sit this off to the side, and you can see how deteriorated that the fabric is on the inside. So I don't know if that comes with a kit, but I'm going to have to do something to freshen that up. So now that side of the housing is off, we're going to take off this inner blower housing. So you can see there's 1/4 inch screw down there, and if we come over here, if you can see it, it was inside a bunch of goo, but there's another 1/4 inch screw there, and then there's one around the back. Hold on. So there it is. This is over by the vacuum actuated door. There's 1/4 inch screw there. Take those 3 out and you should be able to take that inner blower housing out. These 3 screws out. It's kind of gummed in there, but this thing should. I miss a screw somewhere. There we go. So this housing will come out. This is a blower housing. So we're going to take this and sit this off to the side and keep going. With the inner blower case out, you can see that there's this metal bracket that's lays up next to the cold and hot blend door. There's a 1/4 inch screw in there that needs to come out, and then we come over to this side, and there is a screw up in there on the other side of that blend door housing that needs to come out. We'll take those 2 out, and then we'll move around to the back side. Never taken one of these apart before, but I'm pretty sure that this rod for the blend door goes with that, and I think this pivot and this back part of the housing is going to stay with that. So if you can see, I've marked either side of the rod to kind of give me an idea where to put this thing back, and then it should just push out of this clip. There we go. So now we'll have those 2. This thing is so fragile. I'm definitely making sure that this thing is kept okay. So I think I finally run out of screws. So there's 4 1/4 inch screws on the back here of this housing. I don't think there's anything else holding this together. I think there's one more piece that comes off when these 4 come out, and then the housing will basically be in about 4 pieces. And then and then I get to clean all this crap up. It is some kind of messy in there. Let's see if I can get this thing loose. Obviously, comes out here. All right, that part's off. Move that to the side. And now with that back side off, I should be able to slide this up. Yeah. All right. There's the whole blend door assembly. Nice and neat. So now with everything torn down to its base components, I can begin to clean all this up. Yay! So there it is. That's the entire thing. The entire AC box taken apart, broken down into 6 major components. So now what's left to do is to clean everything up and then replace the seals that are provided in the kit, and what's not provided I just need to assess and make sure everything is in good working order. Welcome back, everybody. If you remember the last video, I completely disassembled the air box down into its base components, and now it's just a matter of cleaning everything up. The whole inside of it is lined with this butyl strip caulk. I always heard it referred to as dum-dum. It's kind of a nickname for it. This stuff is like crazy sticky. This is the same stuff I believe that was on the quarter windows of the car. Now because that was a painted surface, I actually got this stuff into a ball like this, and I could use it to tack onto it and would pull the stuff right off the window. I am not having that kind of luck on this. It is just stuck to that plastic some kind of good. You can see my pile of crap over there that I've taken off some of the other components. So basically I'm just stuck in here scraping this stuff out. and it is a mess. So that's what I'm going to be doing for a while. Stripping this stuff off of here as much as I can. And then I'm going to come back with some type of degreaser or cleaner or something to get the fine stuff off that I just can't get with the scraper. And that's all this is. It's just gunk. So this is my life right now. The ugly part of restoration. All right, well that's most of the heavy stuff. So I think now, good night. Tell you what, if this is from the factory, move this out of the way. This is what the factory put in. I can tell you right now, they were very, very interested in keeping this thing sealed. I mean, this just, it's a bunch, holy cow. It was way more than what I think it needed to seal that box up. But anyway, if you're restoring cars, we already know you're a glutton for punishment, so this is just grunt work. Oh, that's all it is, just clean up stuff. So I think I've got the majority of the heavy stuff off, and now I think I'm going to try to use a test piece, and then I don't know, I've got some acetone. I'm not sure that'll be good for plastic. I might look and see what's the best thing to get this this butyl stuff off. What's left, the residue on there that I couldn't scrape off. So that's where I go next. And I think I found my product. So if you can look, hope you can see this, there's a bare spot right in the middle. This whole thing right here is just like a layer of that butyl that I couldn't get off. I mean, you scrape most of it off, but there's just residue that's left. And this stuff is, let me touch the edge here. It's horrible. It's just like, it's almost like grease, but it's worse because it won't wipe off. I found this. It's Goo Gone, and it's for its automotive version of it. And it says it can get off gum and bird droppings, tree sap, and asphalt. I'm thinking, yeah, if I get all this stuff off, it's pretty good. It's supposed to be safe. It smells like oranges, which is a positive. It doesn't smell like some horrible stinking chemical. And it's plastic safe. So I'm going to try this. So you saw I've already got this stuff on my finger, and once you get this on you, you have to wipe to get it off. I mean, pretty hard. So I've got some of this stuff soaked on a towel. That's my finger. Literally, it dissolves this stuff. I mean, this magic, I mean, that comes right off. So, I sat it down and got it on the back. So I tried it on an area of this, and that's this bare spot in the middle. And literally, I wiped it, and no pressure at all. I just basically, nice, gentle circle like this, and literally took the stuff right off. Very impressed. Let me see if I can do a little spot over here. So literally, and I'm not even doing it the way the instructions say. The instructions say you're supposed to dab this stuff on and get the surface wet and let it sit and actually work. And I've just moistened this stuff on a cloth and wipe it down. And I mean, it takes this stuff right off. I'm loving this. So it's plastic safe. I'm trying it on a spot inside here where it's not going to, you know, if something goes wrong, I want it to be on the inside here where I can fix it and no one's ever going to see this part. But man, I mean, it literally wipes it right off. Now the instructions say once you're done, wash the area down with warm water and soap. And I've just got a little container here. It's just a rag with some hot water that I've been using just on this test spot to see if it works. And I got to tell you, I'm very impressed. And my hands smell like oranges. No chemical smell. Look at that. If you can see the difference, it just took that whole area right off, and it was nothing but this layer of gunk that I could not move. This is good. So I'm going to spare you guys all the elbow grease, because literally I've got to do the entire perimeter of this seal on this, and I've got the top plate on that needs to be cleaned, and about 5 other pieces that had a bunch of heavy gunk on it. So first I'm going to get all the butyl off, and then we're going to go outside, and I'm going to use some type of large container, and I'm going to do hot water and soap, and then I'm going to scrub most of the stuff off that I can. And then I think we'll be ready for refinishing some of the surfaces and then putting it back together. So that's good. Very, very happy with that. Look at that. I mean, that literally, you can see the ring around what I scrubbed and what I didn't. And all this stuff over here, it's still this crappy, sticky, gummy stuff, and it comes right off. Love it. One down, bunch to go. Man, they did a great job. Stuff is down to literally nothing. It's just plastic now. It's great. All the goo's gone. Love it. So before I scrub this piece, I'm going to take the blower motor and this blower resistor out just to make it easier to clean. The blower resistor was 7mm, and all the blower motor screws are 1/4 inch. So if you're replacing the blower motor, be careful with this hose. This hose is a vent to keep the motor itself cool. There's also one lead over here, it's your ground lead, and it bolts right to the outside case here, the blower motor. You don't have to take that one loose because it's not holding it in. The hole that it goes into on this side is bigger than the screw. So it's there literally just to hold that ground strap on. So if you're replacing the blower motor, don't forget this. You're going to have to take this off and transfer it to your new one. Now we can do some cleaning. And like with the other one, I'm going to sit this off to the side and actually let the citrus stuff do its work. So for this bottom piece, I've actually taken the wiring harness on either side, since I don't want to try to take that out and mess something up, but I've just bagged it on either side just to kind of keep as much of the moisture off this as I can. So let me wet this one down, let it soak, and then by the time I do this one, the other one should be ready to get scrubbed. One piece to go. This is the cold, warm blend door. And I'll be done, finally. So I guess this is a word of warning for you. In case you're doing this yourself and you're using that Goo Gone stuff, after scrubbing everything down, it's left the piece looking chalky. Now I don't know if I hit it with like an Armor All wipe or something like that, if that would just kind of come off. I don't know if it's just some residual stuff left over, or if it actually maybe bleached it a little bit or discolored the plastic. And I will let you know once I get into final clean and prep. And for me, I don't care, because the inside pieces you're never going to see, and the outside pieces I plan to clean, scuff, put on a coat of Bulldog adhesion promoter, and then I'm going to paint it the same color as the firewall, which is going to be the Eastwood Underhood Black. So I hit it twice with Armor All and then dried it off, and it definitely kind of got it back to like a normal kind of plastic color that it was before. But it's still, I can tell that the finish is almost like it's dulled from the Goo Gone. And I don't know whether that's the Goo Gone or if it's the Dawn dishwashing detergent and hot water, the soapy wash down afterwards. I'm not sure. So be aware of that if you're doing like the top cover or something that's going to be seen. Maybe washing the whole thing down with that, maybe not a good idea if you want to like keep that original plastic looking color. I'm not sure. But I'm just going to use Armor All. I'm just going to hit all of this just to make sure that the exterior is kind of protected, I guess. Try to like maybe moisturize it in a way just to make sure that it's not dried out or anything. But it changed the sheen. It's like a little duller now. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm painting mine, so the exterior is going to be the same color as the firewall, so it's not going to matter. It's not only to document this, but also for my own recollection. I'm going through and I'm looking at all the factory insulation and where everything was at when I took this thing apart. So this is that top screen. I got it flipped upside down, and there's this insulation foam seal that goes along. It looks like it's just sticky back seal foam, and it's been cut in this weird design to seal off that one side. So when I put this back together, I want to make sure that I have something to replace this so it looks like it did when it came from the factory. So I'm going to take a look at all the pieces this way. So here is the hot cold blend door. If I didn't mention this before, there's this press-in clip on the bottom that holds the bottom of the heater core, so make sure you don't lose that. And here's the seal on the top. So I try to make sure all this stuff stayed on even after the cleaning process, so I know how to replace it. These seals, I believe, are in the seal kit, so this should be no problem. But the one that came off of that leaf screen, I don't think is in the kit, so I'm going to have to replace that with something that I need to go buy. Anyway, so that is how that one looks. Here's the fresh air door on the back, and you can see there's this lone little triangle right here in this one spot. This is also included in the kit, so I want to make sure that I put that in the exact spot where that's supposed to go. So that's where that one is at. And here's the factory evaporator and the new one in the box. The new one comes with the 4 seal pieces, I think, that make up this side. But if you flip it over, there is this foam. I'm going to transfer, because it looks like it's in decent shape. I don't know if I should rinse it or whatever, but it looks like it's just pressed in with some clips. So I'm going to transfer this one over to the new one, so that will work. And then this seal kit, actually in the kit, you get this whole seal and it's already glued together in the square, so you just have to stick it onto there. I don't know if you see what I see, but you can see where the accumulator is and where the orifice tube comes out, and then you go over to the new one and it's in a completely different spot, and it needs to go this way to clear the accumulator, and that is an issue. So, and I'm scared to try to bend it. I may, if I can get down here right at this one bend, maybe I can use, if my tubing bender has a size big enough, maybe I'll bend it at this kink right here and just move it a little bit forward without kinking the hose, so I don't restrict any movement of the Freon. But that needs to move because that's right in the way where the accumulator is going to be. Okay, so I'll have to fix that when the time comes. But fiddle-dee-dee, that's for another day. Right now I'm just looking at seals, so it looks like everything here has been documented. Now let's move on to the next piece. Oh yeah, almost forgot. This is from Four Seasons, 54-277. Comes with the orifice tube and O-rings. Bonus.
And lastly, there's this guy. Not much left. I mean, it's almost completely deteriorated, but it is included in the kit, thank goodness. So all I need to do, I believe, is take this vacuum actuator off. And when I slide that off, I should be able to slide this right off of the shaft. Then I can clean this up, glue on the new seal, and then put this back in, and it should be like new. That's good.
Okay, so here we are. Let's start replacing some parts. Start doing some work here. So in the kit is this foam, which is used to replace what is left of the crap that's here. So in order to place this in, I needed to take off this vacuum modulator. So that bolts in like so, and you can see this would actually go down on this shaft and hold it in place. Well, I needed to unbolt that and get that out of the way in order to be able to put this thing down in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it in place, and then I'm going to put the two housing pieces together, and then I'm going to run it through its paces up and down to make sure that I don't have any spot where this is like, I don't know if I need to trim this a little bit. So I just want to make sure that this thing actually doesn't hang up anywhere, because the last thing I want to do is put it back together and then have this down inside there and then be stuck in like the up position here. So I'm going to tape this down, and then we'll take a look and see how the operation looks. All right, so I got a couple of screws holding it together, and I put the modulator, slid it back onto the shaft here, and then tightened down the 2 3/8 nuts. And I've been running this back and forth, and it looks like that's pretty good. It seems like there's a little bit of drag, but it's actually not that bad. Let me switch over to the other side. Let's hook this one up. That pulls it up in there pretty good. It's just a little bit of drag. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do, because it looks like when this thing moves, there's some overlap. So there's some overlap on both sides here, where I guess this is kind of supposed to seal off this area. And let's flip this around. And then if you look inside here, you can see these ledges up in here. So it kind of seals against this too. So with that all the way up, it kind of sits against, so there's a little bit of a lip, so I think I've got just a little bit of leeway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim just a hair off of both sides to eliminate that drag, just so this thing doesn't end up going wonky and getting stuck in one spot in there. So now I can take this back apart and trim that up, and we'll get on to the next thing. So the kit also comes with the piece to replace the rubber around this door. I'm going to flip this over so you can see this. But the door, I noticed when it was together, this seal was actually pretty good. And this is actually in really good shape. It's still very malleable. The rubber still feels very nice. So I'm not going to replace this. This isn't good enough shape. It's still soft. It's not brittle. If this were torn, if there was something going on with it, I would definitely take this, and basically you put it in place. I think it goes like this because it has that arm down there. And then it comes with a bunch of little clips, and you basically just go around and you clip this whole thing in, and it holds it in place. But mine is in such good shape, I'm going to leave mine alone. So for this, I'm going to call it done, because I'm not going to mess with this anymore. So now we've got just this piece. We've got the housing back apart. Go in here, take these 3/8 nuts back out again, and we're going to get this door out. And then with the door out, I think I'm going to do is, because it's all these, there's a couple of air baffles in here, and this blend door, it's all bare metal, and it's all got surface rust on it. So I think what I'm going to do, this is the trickiest part, is getting this rod to come up off of this. I just had to get it down into my lap where I could get it on both sides and pull it up. So once it's off, we'll just remove this out. Come out, why don't you? There it is. All right, set that off to the side. And then we're going to take, actually, you know what? Let me leave that back in there so I have an idea of what it looks like. If I turn this around, so now with that plunger arm off, this should, you can see that it's just looped onto this shaft, and it's held on in such a way that it just holds it on the shaft. So I should be able to pull this straight up and off of this. So this shaft, in case you're doing this is how I was doing it. So get the front of the shaft and the back of this knuckle and then push it until it's buried. And then you can flip it over and there's the same slots on the back side. So then I get this slot, bring it over, squeeze it to that point, and then back to the front, and then just keep repeating that process until the shaft is slid all the way out. And I should be just about, I'm hoping once I get past this one, then it might actually let go. There it is. And I didn't break anything. So all right, so now this is out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to hit this with the wire wheel and get all this old crud off of it. And I'm going to clean this up. And I'm actually going to take all these parts were bare metal. So I like the idea the air that's coming into the car that I'm breathing is just slowly oxidizing inside. So I actually bought some Rust-Oleum rusty metal primer, and I'm going to paint everything, and I'm going to put a coat of gloss black on it and then put everything back together. So hopefully the gloss black will kind of cut down on dust and stuff grabbing onto it. So anyway, so that's the door. It's off. Now I just got to clean it up and put it back together. And we're back. That was satisfying too. Just taking all that crap off of this thing. Goodness. So the back is gloss black, and this side and this foam piece are going to get glued together. So we're going to put these down, and I'm going to use a little bit of this 3M trim adhesive, and I'm going to hit both parts. And now we wait. Once both of these get tacky, then we'll put the two of them together and they'll be together for the rest of their lives. So let's wait a minute or so, let it do its work. Now we've let this dry up enough to where it is just a little tacky. You want this to be pretty dry, and you would think these aren't going to stick together now. When I put these together, they're never coming apart. So I've got to make sure when it goes together, I got it right the first time, because there'll be no second time. So that lines right up with that. Right. A little bit of overage, but not much. Yes. Okay, so now, and I trimmed just the slightest little bit off, and then the spot here where it was dragging on the bolt head, I just put a little tiny moon shape in there, and then right up here I just cut a little bit of the corner because that was dragging on the housing. That is good to go. Yeah, that's not coming off anymore. All right. So, I'm going to give that a second to sit, and I've got one of the air baffles that goes inside here is drying, so I got to wait for paint. So, be back in a sec. All right, now we're ready to start reassembling. Took the time to clean the inside of the case. This is the only part that I didn't actually take outside and wash, just because there was no gunk on it. There's no butyl on this stuff back here, so I am going to sit this down, and then we'll get our plate back in here. This is our air baffle, as the factory calls it. We'll get our screws back in. Alright, that is much better. Got a good coat of primer and some gloss paint on it, so that way this is going to stay looking nice for a very long time. So now let's turn this around and let's get our door back in. So it's got to go in this way. Hopefully I can get this down in place without any issue. It's a tight fit, but it does go. So that is right where it needs to be. Let's go ahead and put our vacuum actuator back in. So I tried to clean this thing up, this shaft, so this will go back on a little easier. This thing is finicky. Gotta have it at just right angle. There it is. Wants to go down. There we go. And then we'll take our two nuts and screw them back in 3/8. Okay, that is back in place. You can hear the diaphragm's working. So let's clear this stuff out of the way, and I'm going to get the other part of the housing up here, get them bolted together, and then make sure that this thing is functioning just the way I want it to. Okay, so with the case up here, let's go ahead and get this back in. Okay. So if you remember from the disassembly, this is one of the first things I took off, and then I had to take one of the screws out and turn this baffle down to get it out. And then after I was completely done with it, I figured out I didn't need to do that at all. Literally, these two pieces can come apart together, and then you can just unbolt this, and it makes it so much easier. So, sorry if you're working on this yourself and you're following along with these videos. Yeah, you found out probably same time I did that it would be easier doing it the other way. But never done one of these before. So if you're in the same boat, you're learning with me. Is this raise or lower? Okay, this raises up. Sweet, right in place. That looks like an excellent seal the whole way around. Happy with that. And it goes back to neutral. That's the big part. All right, and that also looks like a very good seal. So now we release. Little squeaky, but goes right back to neutral. With this part done, you'll see there's this little triangle right here. So there is a piece in the kit, and there it is. There is that piece, and that literally replaces this crapped out piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some blue painter's tape, and I'm going to mark this off so I know exactly where to put this, and then I can peel this off, clean it. Then it's the same thing. It's some of the super yellow trim adhesive, and then same thing, got to spray this to replace that, and then we'll come and glue that on, and then this portion of it will be done. Okay, so now everything is dried, and you think, oh wow, this thing, it's too dry now, it's not going to stick. It's going to stick. it's going to stick and never let go. Okay, sticky to sticky. And I'm putting it in the exact same spot that the old one came off. And this little piece was hanging out over the edge, so I'm assuming it's supposed to be like that and not put on wrong. I don't know, but that's how it's going back. So this is the entire, and this portion here will actually bolt into the other side of the case. So this is the whole inside portion of your housing. And I think what I'm going to do is, because I'm long-winded and these videos take forever, and I'm trying to show you guys as much information as I can, and this so much stuff is intricate, like detail work on these, that the videos just end up going on forever. So I'm going to try to break this up into a bunch of small videos. So I'm going to stop it here. I've got this part assembled, and then next we'll worry about everything outside the firewall. I've got to do some prep work to the evaporator and a couple other things. So I think we're going to stop right here, and I'll see you on the next video when we continue on this little adventure that started out as a firewall refurbishment, and now I'm in deep with like 6 different projects here. So that's it for now. Do me a favor, down here somewhere, subscribe, and then hit the bell so you get notifications, and tell a friend. I need all the help I can get. So more subscribers, more likes, more views, it's all good for me. So I appreciate everybody out there that's watching. And if you've got a GBody, I hope this helps you somehow. So it looks like I picked up a couple subscribers since my last video. So very happy about that. So hit the subscribe button. It's down here. It's somewhere. Get it. Hit the bell. Get notifications. Like the video. Tell a friend. All this stuff helps me out. So I guess some of my yammering's working out because people are actually starting to subscribe. So please tell a friend. There's got to be somebody out there that you know that owns a car or something like mine, a GBody, whether it's a Grand National, Cutlass, Regal. Tell them about the channel. Hey man, there's some weirdo that's making all these videos. It might be interesting to you. You ought to check it out. Okay, enough of me stammering and begging. So this is the old evaporator core, and I've got the new evaporator core sitting right next to it. So you can see how the seal goes around. It's glued down by some kind of yellow gunky glue, and it folds over the side. And I guess that's how it seals against the box. So here's the seal that came with the kit, and it's one continuous piece of like a skinny closed cell foam, and then they've glued a second strip, I guess, to double up the thickness on the back. And this thickness is actually correct, except this one, it's that thick all the way around. So as it overlaps the sides, it's that same thickness. So I guess you're supposed to bend it like this and glue it over the side. It's not long enough, and it seems kind of, I don't know, it's awkward. I'm going to have to figure out how to glue that down. I don't know. I'm not exactly happy with that seal, so I don't know. Seals came with the kit. They are the right thickness. These are the right thickness for the side. That's good. And these stretch the length. But these are actually too thick, I think, compared to what's on here. So it's like no one got it right. And then this one, when they packed it, I think the evaporator core was sitting down on it, and it's just squished flat, and it's stuck like that. It won't come back from that shape. So that's like, it's useless. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe I should take a step back and figure out, why is this seal here? What is its purpose, and how does it do its job? And maybe I can think of a way to do it better, maybe, I don't know, but figure out something to where I can fix it myself and come up with something. So I went out to the store, and I got a couple of different peel and stick type seals, like window seals and stuff like that. The one's more like an open type of foam, and the other one's like a closed cell foam. So I'm hoping between the two of them I can make something up and make this work. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab the case, and I'm going to sit the case up here and then put the new evap in and see how it is supposed to seal against the case, and maybe I come up with something different or something a little bit better. We'll see. I'm going to grab the case. All right. Let's put this up here. It's the bottom of the case. And let's put in this inner blower motor housing. Okay. So that goes in. And then the evaporator goes in here. Oh, that fits well. Okay, push the seal down here. All right. So you've got this this kick up down here, and this holds the evaporator tight, and it's in there pretty good. So there's like a little bit of a gap back here. Let's turn it around. And I put this front seal on. I had to trim this because this is actually fatter up here by the front than what the old one was. So I had to trim this to get it to fit just right. So that's down, and that is the front. This is pushed down. That's all sealed together. Very nice. So that's good. So on the front, let's see if I can see this. So you've got a little gap right here. This side's fatter than on the back side. And I think I can use these two sticky seals. And I'm wondering, let me move this to the side. I'm wondering if that fits down in there. Oh, look at that. That is perfect. That is just snug enough that it sits down in there. That is going to go good. So these two stick-on strips I'm going to use on the back sides, or the two sides of the evaporator. You know, I'm going to go off script here a little bit. So on GBody forum, and again, if you're not on GBody forum and you got a GBody, I don't know what you're doing with your life. That one forum, I've got more information on that than I can't even tell you. We had a discussion on there. It was one of the threads was about the weak blower force when it goes into the car. So the actual air coming out of the vents was a little weaker than what like a normal or newer car would be. And there's all kinds of theories as to, you know, blower design and where the cage is, and there's different aftermarket cages, and maybe this cage is better than that, and I just don't know. I just don't know. I think some of it comes down to, I think, just to like different areas on the case where you're just bleeding off some of that air. You want to keep everything inside here so all that air is pressurized and has no choice but to go one direction in the vehicle. And I think maybe there's some spots where you had leakage. And I'm also wondering too, because when you put the lid on, there's a blower motor resistor that's up here on top, and it's got a couple of different resistors in it. So when you are inside the car and you click low to medium, it goes through a specific resistor, and that's exactly what it does. It holds up some of that electricity, so you get a certain voltage to the motor. The motor is just going to run with whatever voltage you supply. So as you go through the different speeds, it goes through a different resistor, and I think there's 3 inside there, so it's your 3 low speeds. And then when you click it on high, it's straight from the battery to this, and it's supposed to be direct battery voltage. So I'm wondering if some of it is whatever the voltage is at the battery, maybe it's like 13.9 or whatever it is, and what you're actually getting at this blower motor, I wonder if there's some bleed off somewhere, and maybe you're only getting like 12 volts or something, and you're missing that 1 volt that would be good for this. So anyway, that's way down the road. Right now, I think I've got my plan of action, how I'm going to put this together. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab the sticky, and then I'll have to figure out how to do the side. So let me get this back out of the way, and then we'll go to putting the seal on this thing. All right, so I think we're ready to go. So I'm keeping this seal in place because I'm just going to be gluing it along this top edge here. So that'll go like so. Let's get that one on. And try not to touch this sticky stuff. I'll spin it around, and I've marked off on this side how far I can go up to the top. So we'll put that right about there. Okay, set that one off to the side, and then we've got the inside of the blower case. So if you remember, you had on the old one, there was overlap on the sides, and then there were 2 strips that were sitting essentially here. So what I'm going to do is, these 2 strips are on the evap case, and I'm actually going to put this bottom strip on the case in here, and then that way I don't have to figure out how to glue that edge and mess that all up. Let's move this around so I can see what I'm doing. So I think if I put that right there, run that right along this edge. Yeah. That ought to work out there. I've got a little overage, let me trim that. Okay, and the last strip, this is the top of the case. The last strip will go on the top, right along, because this is the hump where the evac case sits, and then this leading edge right here is what seals the top of the evap case. So I think, oh crud, I think if we get, this stuff is being a bear for me, thank you. All right, let's turn this around here so I can see what I'm doing. Sorry you can't see, but I need to be able to figure this out. So I think if I put that right down in here, is that right? Yes. That'll be good right there, and then we'll cut off some of that overage right here. I think, there. That seals down there. Ah, this is the top of the case. Eastwood Underhood Black. All right, so now, final fitment time. Let's see if this is going to work. So the case goes in, inside blower case, and we'll get our evap in here. Oh yeah, you can feel, oh, that, yes, okay, let's see. You can see down inside this. It's a nice snug seal at the bottom, snug at the back where that's supposed to be, and snug at the front, and that is sitting right where I need it to be. Now let's grab that top case. Oh, this is actually going to look like, it belongs. Okay, oh, there it is. Let's get that snug down. Oh, wish you could feel that. That is just snug. Oh, and it's right up, the seal level on the top side is right against that. That's perfect. That is perfect. I love that. That thing is sealed up tight, just like that. So good. I'm going to take this apart, and I'm going to take these pieces in the house, because it is, I don't know, 200 degrees. It's crazy. It is super hot. So I'm going to take all this stuff in the house, because what I don't want to do is have all this stuff just sit out here in the heat and then have the sticky let go of what I just put down. So I'm going to take these down to the basement, and they'll stay nice and cool, and hopefully everything will stay stuck together. And then let's move on to the next piece. So let me get all this crap out of the way, and I'll be back. I almost forgot the evaporator. There is this mesh that's on this side here. It looks very flimsy. Anyway, so I'm going to take this off and transfer it over to my new one once it gets cleaned up. So it looks like, all right, so there's these 2 metal clips. Where is it buried? There it is. So, well, these aren't hard at all. Okay, so you have these 2 clips on either end. I clip this one side. Come on. There it is. Okay, I'm going to take these 2 clips out of the way. So it was like the second indent on both sides. Let's flip this up and over, and we'll take a look at this side. It should just be a straight clip. Oh, that's why. It should just be a straight clip that is pushed down in between the fins. Let me work these up like this. And I should just be able to pull them out. Yeah, there we go. Come here. Ah. So all it is this little clip. It's got some grips on both sides. And let me get this off here. It just is held on by the pressure of pushing it down into the fins. So that's all that is. I am going to take this thing into the house and I'm going to put it in a bowl with some warm water and some soap, and I'm going to clean it up because it's been in here for a while and who knows what kind of crud. As you can see, there's some debris on it. But I guess that's what it's meant for, right? It's meant to catch some of the dirt and debris, dust that gets into the system. So I'm going to go wash this and then I'll be back. Let's go in like that. All right. And now all it is a matter of taking these push pins and just going down in the middle of one of the fins. That'll hold that right in place. That's good for that. Where's this one? That's got that down. And the center one, the hole is a little bit walled out, so I'm actually going to go a little bit down from where that's at, find another place to push that down in. There. And then we've just got our clips on the back side here. I think that just pushes on and snaps in place. That holds that down. Good. And we'll do the same thing over here. And then this, look at that. Okay. Cleaned up well, went back on. That is our evaporator core, and it is ready to go back in the car. So that's very good. So we're going to put that to the side and work on something else. Moving on. So now we've got that's the cold hot blend door. So we've got these two foam seals on the top. The kit came with 4 of these, and none of them, this one I might be able to get work. This will bend down, that'll work for that spot. But this one's actually too short if it's going to go all the way out to the edge like the factory did it, and that's what I want to do. So this foam window seal, I think is going to work perfect for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off about what I think I need, and then I'm going to use this stuff instead. Just because I want it to be perfect. So I got my 2 pieces, and where this one comes in, this one sticks down, this comes in at an angle. So we'll cut a little angle in this bad boy. That's about right. We'll see. So now I just got to get this one off, and this stuff is going to destroy itself trying to get it off. The foam is just tearing because the glue won't let go. Ah, I caught an edge on the other side. Let's see if I can get this. Come on, stay together. Stay together. Haha. All right, that's one side. Let's see if I can get. What if I can grab it back here? What if I get lucky again? There's the glue. Oh, every once in a while, I get lucky. Perfect. Okay, so that's all cleaned up, and it's perfect because there is an actual color differentiation between the plastic right where that foam seal, you can see that really well. So it's going to make it easy for me to make sure that these two get stuck down in the exact right spot. So this, I just peeled that off, and I think I should put this one on first. This is the long straight. We'll start back here. This goes right along here. That is down. And then now I can come and butt this right up against this. Right like that. And follow the faded outline. Right over and around. That looks about right. That is good. Almost forgot this little fella. Look at him sitting here. And that is just the right length for this. So this little guy has to come off. I'm hoping this one peels off. See, sees the others. Look at that. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Holy cow, was that hard to peel away. So, no reason for you guys to have to see that. So this is going to stick. How is that going to stick? Put it right in that groove. You know what's great? Here's a piece that comes with this kit. It's actually got a slit in the center. This was nowhere to be seen when I pulled this unit out. So when this bolts back in, this rod goes through the back part of the housing I just finished putting together with the big blend door. And what this does is it sticks down on the outside of that. And then now you've got this thing sealed with this foam right where that opening in the door is, so you don't lose any air through there. So that's kind of cool. And like I said, this is nowhere to be found on my kit. It was just MIA. So I got that now. This piece is done. Let's go do another. Okay, so here's the screen that goes on the top of the AC box when it goes back in. And underneath, this was not supplied in the kit. Or if it was, I don't know if it was meant to be a bunch of these little things, but this is too thick. So here is the actual seal, and it's got all these, you can see that, it's got these little pie cuts in them, because this thing sat on here all kinds of wonky. That's how that was stuck on. So it looks like that. So I've got to duplicate that, and this looks like the exact same thickness. So this is what I'm going to use, and it looks like it's about the same, like that closed foam type material. So what I'm going to do is just lay this out flat, and then I'm going to cut a piece of this, and then I'll have to put all these little pie cuts in, and then we'll stick this on, and I think that will be the last seal, and we'll actually be ready to put this thing back together. So that's kind of exciting. Anyway, let me lay this out and do some cutting, and I'll be back. Okay, so I got all my little pie cuts in this thing, and now this is going to be fun. So I'm going to start here and go up and down. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to do this a little at a time so I don't mess it up. So we'll start at this edge, because I know it goes right to this leading edge right here. It comes down. Let's pull a little bit more of this out here. So then it turns, is that right? Turns sideways here. Let me, okay. So that's that there. Okay, then it came down on that. Man, this thing, this is crazy. Okay, so then it cuts this corner, it looks like. Oh. So that's right there. Okay. And that's up here. And we cut this corner and come over here. And it sticks right along this leading edge. Good night. Okay. Is it perfect? Well, maybe not. It is just about where the old one was. I think that's enough. Worry about this corner. This thing's sticking and staying. stuff is sticky enough. I think it ought to work. So I'm going to just get rid of our excess here. Cut a little long just to make sure I didn't cut myself short on it. Come here. Cut that edge off. All right. So that's done and down. And that is ready to go. And that is the last of the seals. So everything's got a seal where it should go. Everything is ready to be reassembled. We're going to put this AC box back together. So put on your PJs, pop some popcorn, bang in sick to work, and leave your girlfriend. We're going to sit down and we're going to get this done today. Anyway, so let's dive right in. I went ahead and test fit this piece on the back. It is basically just sitting on there. There's nothing holding it together. I haven't bolted anything because I want to look to see how I'm going to seal this and make sure that everything goes back together correctly. So inside this overlap right here, because this sits out here and then the part of the housing goes in behind it, there's a groove down in there. And when I took it apart, that whole groove was filled with butyl. So I'm going to put some back in there so that's sealed up tight, factory fresh, just the way it was. And then I think, let me turn this around so you can take a look at it. If you look down inside, here, let me hold it like this. This ought to be good. So down inside, this is the seal, or the crack where the two parts come together. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run some butyl right along that seam and seal off any areas just to make sure that they stay nice and clean and tight, airtight, because that's what I want. And you can see my hand moving. Look at that, this is like a huge, gigantic gap right here. So either I'm going to fill that in with butyl, or the other thing I could do is I've still got some foam left over from the kit, and I think these two would be the perfect size. Well, I could use one of these and I think just seal that one area off, because what I want to do is make this case as far as like air movement from the blower through the evaporator and the heater core and into the vehicle. I want to make this case as airtight as possible so I don't lose any air out of any different like crack, crevice. I just want to make sure that every bit of air that blower motor is giving me is coming into the vehicle. So we're going to take care of that, and move it around here so you can see. This is my favorite. They supply this one little foam thing that's got a split down the center. And I was going to make something if it didn't have it, but it's in the kit. So where the rod comes out, so you'll have a rod that comes out through here and clips into here. So when you're inside the vehicle and you're hitting your hot to cold, there's a cable that comes out here and attaches here. And that cable moves this, in turn moves the rod, and in turn moves the door. So this little seal right here, the rod will come through it, and basically this will seal off any air escape outside the case to make sure that it goes through the ductwork that it's supposed to. So that is the plan of attack. So I'm going to get this back off because it's basically just kind of, it presses on really tight. I mean, I mean, you can't even shake it off. It's on there pretty good, and there's nothing holding it except the fact that it wedges down in here so well, and it wedges onto the back of the case here. So let me take this apart, and then we'll start laying down our butyl, and then I'm going to I might take some of that fuzzy and just put a strip right here to seal that one area off, and then we'll come back and we'll start bolting stuff together. And I got to remember, when I took this apart, the blend door was already in here because that rod has to go through here. So if I put this on and then try to get this in, the angle is weird, and then that rod's not going to want to go through here without me forcing it, so I don't want to do that. So the blend, that whole box will have to go in, just sit in there, so that'll be where it needs to be for this. So let's get cracking. Let me get this loose. Okay, so we got that back apart, and this is the piece I'm talking about. There was a gap up here. I've already put some foam on that, and on the back side here, I took a little bit of the foam and stuck it here too. There are some air gaps there, so I just want to seal that stuff up. So let me sit this down where you can take a look at this. I took a Sharpie and I marked the two spots. They're both right here. So it's this area right here where that air gap is at. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just going to use some of this foam. So I can cut a piece that'll fit right here, and then access will probably be just enough to swing around to this, and it'll be perfect. So I'm going to grab my scissors back here, and we'll mark that right about there. So that is that piece, and then I think this one will come around, take about that much. Trim this until I'm happy with it. Perfect. So that's going to be my two little pieces that I'm going to use, and then we'll stick those in, and then we can put these two pieces together, and then the rest will be butyl on the inside, and then I need to put some butyl on the piece that goes around this door, and then we'll be ready to go. These little foamy pieces do not want to peel off from these things. Holy cow, these things are difficult to get unstuck. But anyway, it's neither here nor there now. All right, so that one is right in where I want it to be. And then take our other one and start here in this corner. And bend it around and stick it. Doesn't need to be perfect. Factory had nothing, so we're already ahead of the game just putting this here. With the case back up here, we can start sealing up this box. So I went out to Napa and I got some glass setting butyl tape. This is part number 4196. It's 1 by 3/8 in a 15-foot roll. Honestly, I think the 1 by 5/16 would probably work better, which is the 4195. They didn't have any. This is what they have in stock. So I'm going to try to make this work, but you cannot be so impatient like myself. You'd probably be better off waiting and getting a little bit thinner stuff. So what I'm going to do, grab this, take out quite a bit on a roll here. I'll look and see, what do I need to fill that? Okay. I'm going to bring some more up around this corner. This stuff is pretty gooey. Okay. That is what I need. And I'm wondering if I can take this stuff. That might work. It looks like, yeah, I think it's going to work. Okay, so that's to the point where we need it. Let's see how this stuff responds to scissors. All right, that's good. So we'll take what's left here, sit this off to the side, and I'm going to pull this off of its backing, and then we'll start in this corner here, and we'll just start working it into that crevice. And the whole point of this is for it to mash down these two pieces. Hopefully this isn't going to be too much. If it's too much, I'll have to either knead this stuff out, like roll it out till it's thinner, but I'm hoping if this wedges down in there nicely, holds that in place. All right, let's go see if this is going to work. Let me grab the other piece. So if you remember, I told you I got to put this hot cold door back in, and there's a groove right here that fits right along with this groove on this side, so that fits in just like that, nice and tight. All right, so I'll sit this off here because you can see this line right here. That was where the caulk was at when this went in. So what I'm going to do, and see if this works, I'm going to take a little bit of this, and I'm going to, here's my scissors, and what I'm going to do is peel this off, and I'm actually going to try to roll this out a little thinner. Like I said, if you get the thinner stuff, it's not going to be an issue. But this stuff is a little thicker than what I really, really wanted, but it's very malleable. So we're just going to roll this out to a nice, even rope. And I think that will lay down right in here. I'm going to butt it right up against this corner. We'll run it right over to the other side, right where those two intersect. That'll be perfect. Then I'm going to take what's left here and then run my strip down this way. And it's just rolling this stuff out, thinning it out a little bit. Then I'll press my door down in, and then we'll get the back side of this case on. Okay, so we'll just join this up with that. Look at that, it's perfect. Okay, so that's my line. And we'll go ahead and nestle this bad boy right down in here. Press this down. Squish it till it's flat. And hopefully this is sitting where I can line up the bolt holes. Put this in. But now that bottom part is in place so I can get my door into the back part of this housing. Now the interesting thing is going to be this butyl over here, because I'm not sure if this is just going to be too fat. So you may see me put this on, and then if it doesn't work out, I'm just going to take it back out, and I'll have to do the same thing. I'll just pull this back out, probably cut it in half, and then roll it out thinner and put the bead back in. But let's see how it goes. All right. Get my rod in there. That's good. Work this piece up here. Too thick, so we go with the same butyl. I just took it out and basically broke it into two halves, and then this half will be enough to fill in this space now. It won't be quite so thick. It was like it was close. It was pretty close, but it was just couldn't get it that last little bit to line the bolt holes up. So we're going to go back with this. This will fit down into that crevice very nicely, and I think that'll fix our fitment issue that we were having. I'll just leave that extra hanging out here until that goes down in there. Like that clunking noise? That's great, isn't it? Okay, round two. Let's try this again. So we'll get that rod in there, and we'll line this up. Get that down into that crevice. Push that down in there. Line that up down there. Out here. This thing's kind of finicky toward the back here, but I think once we get this first one lined up and down, then the rest of these are just going to fall right into place. Yes. Along. Well, it's a tight fit, but got my two back screws in. I got these started, and it looks looks like. It's going to go nice. All right, so those are in. Look at that. Okay, one last screw right here. Look at that. Okay, so now we have got our case together. So let's put our little sticky sponge over top of this air inlet where the door is at. And then if you remember, we marked exactly where this door was. Might have to fiddle with that a little bit because there's not a lot of room for this thing to stick. Maybe I got it. So hopefully you can see this. This is the baffle that came out, and I've just given it a good gloss black coat. And if you can see, there is 2 spots for screws on this, but there was only a screw at the top where this was bolted in like that. So I actually found a screw I think is going to work for the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and put both of them in because I think that's probably the way the factory wanted it. And I took a piece of butyl and I just rolled it out to a nice little thin bead, and I'm just going to, in my attempt to seal this thing up perfectly so we don't have any air bleed anywhere, I'm going to put this right up to this seal and just put it right behind this joint where the air baffle is going to go. And I'm hoping that by doing so, it helps to seal up this side. If there's any air bleed, that's going to get that. And then now, let's do the one that it came with, the top one. Let's put that in and see if we can't get that started. Where it's supposed to go. Alright, this bottom one I just found a Phillips screw, I think had the same type of thread. So let's see if I can get this bottom one run in where it's supposed to be. Ah, very nice. Actually, that's good and tight. And then you've got that one screw that's over here in this corner. I've already got that started. So let's see if I can get. It's just got an awkward angle. This flex really helps get to that. And there is the air blend door in. Let's run it through the motion real quick to make sure that baffle doesn't interfere. Nice, right where it's supposed to be. Now, let's move on to our blower case that goes on the inside. So that sits down like so, right in there. And there is a groove that follows the whole way around, and that is where I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll out some butyl and then just put a seal right down on that, and then right up this corner all the way to the top, and just make sure that that is sealed good and tight. That's a nice bead the whole way around, one side to the other. Now let's go ahead and get this in place. Hopefully I can get this down without messing this butyl up on the way down. I want to keep that thing. There we go. Yes, it's sticking in place. Gotta go right down where it needs to be. Pop that edge down. Very good. So you've got one bolt that comes in from the back. And I'm going to start that one now, because I think that's going to be the most difficult one. Just lining this one up. I think if I can get this one in place, the rest of it will just, there it is. The rest of this will just fall right in. So the one up in this corner doesn't look all too difficult. This is right there. And the one down here on the floor. Hopefully that's in the right spot. I don't need to move that. Ah! Okay, so with that down, you can see that there's a groove right here, and it's the same thing. Butyl fits in here, and then when the top case goes down, there's a flat ledge right along here, and that's where those two parts meet, and that right there, so that causes your seal. But there's also this little jut out right here, and there's the top part of the case. It's not solid. There's just two edges that come along, and I could see just a little bit of air in between the two of them. And I thought, you know, my attempt is to make this thing as airtight as possible, so that all this air coming up out of here has no choice to go but into where it's supposed to. There's going to be no bleed out in any different direction over top of anything. I just want a constant hard airflow where it should be. So in order to do that, you know, all these little foamy pieces that came in the kit that I think you're supposed to like double up and make this that I used the window seal for, I just kind of measured out the piece, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal this edge right here, right where it comes up to the butyl. I'm just going to put this in, and this stuff is like super squishy, so it's going to come down and just squish flat with that. It's going to take up any gap that this thing provides, and it's just going to ensure that I have this blower motor just pushing this air right where it's supposed to go, and then there's no bleed back this way. There's no chance of it going anywhere but where it's supposed to, the way the factory designed it to. So this is probably all overkill, but hey, what sport are you in? Everything that we do to these cars is overkill, right? So why is this any different? Exactly. Okay, so now this is in place. So now all we got left is heater core, evaporator core, cover, blower motor. We are almost there, boys and girls. I'm very happy. So I need to roll out some more butyl. I'm going to put this piece in, and then I've also got to, there's a butyl piece that came with the kit. It's a long roll, and it's supposed to do this entire perimeter all the way around. So I've got to get that piece and put that in place, and then get my evaporator and heater core, and let's get those in and sealed up, and then we'll be ready to go. This is getting exciting. We're getting close. There it is. Got my butyl laid down right in the groove. Matches right up with my little spongy seal that I got from the kit. Now, before, I'm going to put the heater core in next, I think, and then evaporator last. So before we do that, we're going to have to do a little bit of science. So both these pieces, this one's heavily, it's turning a little green. It's kind of corroded, but I think I can save it. I mean, it's intact. There's nothing. It's not frayed and everything like that. Same thing with the hold down. So we're going to see if we can't clean these. So I've just got a container to hold both of them, table salt, lemon juice. I'm not measuring anything. Just, that looks good. What do I know? And white vinegar. And here, that should be perfect. Stick, stir it up. And in go our pieces. Just make sure all the way submerged. Now we're just going to let that sit. Probably going to let it go about 10 minutes, then I'll come back and check it. Ding! 10 minutes. Let's see what we got here. Let's pull this out. Wasn't expecting a miracle with this. It does look like it's gotten off a little. This is what I'm wanting to see. Maybe if I agitate it a little bit with my hands here. It does look like it's a lot better. What I've done is basically created a mild acid by mixing these together. I'm just rubbing this with my hands. Let's see what we got. Oh, that is much better. Okay, so we're going to move this off to the side. We're going to bring in our cup of water, and this is sodium bicarbonate or baking soda to you and me. Same thing. I'm going to stir this up. So now we've coated this, we've let it soak in acid, and it's eaten some of the tarnish off the top of it, made it look a lot better. The problem is, if I just wipe this down and don't do anything else, there's a chance that there's a layer left on this and it'll just keep eating away at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this bath of sodium bicarbonate and water to essentially neutralize the acid. And in that way, I'll take it and run it under the sink, make sure it's nice and clean, wipe it up, and then it'll go back on the car. It won't be an issue. Now this I will probably hit with a Scotch-Brite just to get this thing cleaned up a bit. Because man, that really did the trick. I like that. Alright, so I'm going to go wash both of these off. Then I think this is going to go back into bath for another 10 or 15 minutes and see if that does any more to it. And then we'll be back to assembling parts. Science? This is stupid. What are we doing? Got all my caulk in place. The caulk that came with the kit is like this kind of grayish color, and I was worried that it was going to be seen, and I'm just anal retentive. So I used the black stuff that I got and just rolled it out a little thinner and put it right in the groove where it's supposed to go. So all that is laid down and is ready to go. So we're going to start, put our heater core in. Alright, it's down in that cradle. And then we'll take our 5/16 nut driver. We'll get this started. Okay, that is down. That's held in place. And then this will just work its way out through the seal like the factory did. And I'm going to bolt it down here at the bottom somewhere on the firewall. That way you can't see it. So that's what I plan on doing. Alright, so now that is in. Let's go grab the evaporator core and we'll get that in. And then it's time to pop the lid on. Alright, let's get our evaporator in. Taking a little ring of butyl and put it right here, so when this seal slides down onto it, it'll kind of seal it from the bottom. This extra level of protection I can get. Oh, this thing just fits down in here so nice. Okay, and then we'll move this down. I can feel that butyl bunching up on that. That's good. Moment of truth. The lid goes on. Everything else has been bolted in place. I've run out of screws. Everything is down where it should be. Now it's just a matter of putting the lid on. And I hope nothing goes wrong, because I'm going to hate if I have to take this thing back off with everything the way it is, because all this butyl is just going to gob up like strings. Okay, last piece of the puzzle. this bad boy down right in place. Now this thing, even sprayed my bolts. Get all my screws put back in. Start right here in this corner. I think if I can get these front two started where they're supposed to be, everything else is just going to fall right in line. So that's what we're going to do. Left to do now. Let's get this motor in. There. Put the breather tube down. All right. Also, we've got the new relay. I got a new one. In for a penny, in for a pound. And this is what I was talking about. So the 3 speeds on the fan, low and the 2 mediums, they all go through these 3 different resistors, and that's what gets you your speed. And then your high is just straight battery voltage. So that goes right in there. That secures these 2 7mm. Well, that is it. Everything is in place. All new components, everything cleaned up, painted. It's pretty. So this will get bagged up at least for right now until I finish the firewall and put it back together. And the only thing left to do is to get this seal in, and I may wait until I bolt the thing back up where I've got a little bit of leverage to get this thing in, because it's bigger than the opening, so it's going to need to be trimmed to make it perfect and get in there and have a good snug fit. So I'm not doing that now. It's blazing hot out here and I'm done. Very happy. It turned out so nice. I mean, it is just so sweet, and everything is sealed up. I mean, I went through and made sure that there was not one single spot in this where air is going to leak by and take away from the air pushing into the car. So very happy. So that's it for now. Do me a favor, right down there, subscribe, please. I need some subscriptions. All right, so we got the AC box laid out, and I wanted to show you the gasket that goes on. It's this foam gasket, came with our kit, and you've got to get it over these 2 different style of ends. This one has these flared clips on it, and basically it grips the gasket. I like this because this thing has mounts all the way around, these raised mounts where the bolt goes in, so you can't over tighten this. Once you tighten it down, it hits a certain point and it doesn't crush the gasket or do anything crazy, so I like that. So you've got a bunch of these that go along the rail. Let's see if I can see this on the other side here. So this is a different type, It's basically the same. It's kind of the same thing, except it's got like a raised, rounded area on it. But it's the same thing. The gasket just goes down into it. You can see I've already put this one down in over here. So it's just a stop. It keeps the gasket from getting crushed. And why there's two different styles on there, I don't know. But let's get the gasket on and then get it into the car. So before I can get the AC box in, I'm going to put this heat shield back on. This came from the factory. This was basically just a heat shield to keep the exhaust manifold. I guess this is where the pipe went down in the back. And this is just like a heat shield to radiate some of that heat away from the firewall and the AC box. So I cleaned it up, painted it with some header paint that they said was aluminum, and it looks kind of chrome to me. But that's what it is. So we'll get this on, and then it's AC box. All right, that's tightened up. Let's get that AC box in. All right, got this bad boy up in place. Made sure that I got my vacuum lines and my electrical wires fed inside. So this end feeds in. Not an issue before, because the bed is gone. Just got to get it past that one bracket on the inside. Wires and back lines, make sure they're in there. All right. It's up in place. Make sure it's underneath these clips. All right, so with the AC box in place, I can start feeding in some of the bolts, hold this thing in. Once I get one up here started, this thing kind of stays in place. Yay! Okay, let me show you this real quick. So I have cleaned up the bolts. You can see that. So wire wheeled them and coated them with the same underhood paint. And underneath, I put some butyl around the screw. Now I noticed when these came off, there was a ton of butyl on there and it was squished out the sides. Almost like it almost looked like a gasket, but it was just a ring of butyl that went around it. So I'm assuming they put that in there to kind of block up some of the space of the hole where the AC box, where the screw feeds through. So I figured I took a little ball and put it at the end of each one of these. So that way when I screw them down, this squishes in, but it's not so much that it squishes out and looks ugly. That is my main purpose, is not to ugly this up. And I'm getting a bunch of these started by hand. Oh, we got a stray. Let's see if we can't get that bad boy back in without having to take that top bolt out. Get in there. Let me make sure that's there. All right, got a couple of top bolts in place. Make sure this gasket is tucked in right where it should be. Want it to look pretty. Okay, let's start feeding some of these bolts in. Okay, with the bolts in place, I'm going to start running these down. Just going to go in a clockwise rotation and Maybe skip every other one. And just keep working around in a circle until they're all snug down. What I don't want to do is just yank one down over here and then the others are tight. I want to try to do this uniformly, so I push this thing down kind of like evenly. Just till it snugs. Skip that one. Now that I've been around one time, I'm just going around any that are seem like they're a little bit loose. I'm just snugging them up. Same position as the rest of them. And then we'll do one more rotation around, snug it down for good. Then we'll be on to something else. The rest of those seem to be in good shape. So now with all this in place, I can see my ground strap coming from the heater core. I think I'm going to put it right there on the underside of the firewall. Instead of it being up here, ugly, hidden. I like that. Engine, with the engine in, valve covers on, everything, you won't even see that. So, all right, so the AC box is in. Let's move on to the next thing. So on the inside of the vehicle, I have reinstalled the ductwork that I cleaned. And I think what I'm going to do is, you see I've hooked all the vacuum lines back up. I'm going to put vacuum to this, and I'm going to put the control unit on and just make sure that everything is functioning before I do anything else. Just to make sure. I know I've checked the hoses, I've checked the actuator valves themselves, but I just want to check that AC head unit now and make sure that we don't have any leaks and everything functions the way it should. So let me go around the front side and let me show you how I'm going to do that. This is my AC vacuum pump. This is used for pulling down the system once you evacuate it and fix any problems you may have. So you pull a vacuum and then you add Freon back to it. So what I've done is I've hooked vacuum line up to that, and I've run it over to the main, that violet line, which is your main vacuum source going back into the car. And I've got a T down there because this pump will pull almost 30 inches of vacuum. So I've actually got a plug on the other end of that three-way T, and it's got a hole in it, creating kind of a controlled vacuum leak, which is going to net me somewhere around 15 to 16 inches of vacuum, which I think is at the low side of what you need in a vehicle. Usually it's like 17 to 22, I think, is good vacuum. So let's get inside the vehicle and let's get things hooked up and see if we can't make this thing run through its paces. Alright, so here we are inside the vehicle, and I've got the main line right here that's coming in from outside. And let me check that violet line. And that is right just a little bit over 15 inches of vacuum, which I think is going to be good for what I'm doing. So let me get the rest of this hooked up. Okay, let's see what we got. So obviously the hot to cold isn't going to work because the cable isn't hooked up, but that's not an issue. Well, right now what I'm checking is all these doors and the function on here. So we're going to go to max AC. This valve's all the way up. This one's closed, that's closed. Go to max AC. Okay, so with 16 inches, it's moving a little slow. There it goes. This is now open. Air's coming out the vents in the front, and the recirc door over there, the fresh air door, is now sealed to the outside, and this valve is all the way down. Outside the vehicle at max AC, this one gray vac line goes over to your heater cutoff valve. Basically, when you hit max AC, it stops the flow of coolant through your heater core, and it cools down the heater core a little bit and gives you a little bit colder air when it goes out into the car. because it doesn't have to fight that heater core. So I've got this hooked up to vacuum. It's on max AC inside the car, and I'm pulling the exact amount of vacuum that I pulled on the inside. So that is good. This is also functioning correctly, and it's holding the vacuum. It's not creating additional leaks. So that is all good. Let's go back in the car. So we go to the norm. That closes. This is still where it's at. Air coming out front. Bi-level. Doors moving. So now you've got air and air. Vent. Doors all the way down. Heater. All the way down. That is open. Air coming out the bottom. And then defrost. Yep. Then air comes out the top. I think we've got it. All right, everything is going back to where it should be. So if I go to max again, let me just check it a second time. Doors opening up. This is moving up to AC. And the door down here is closed for heat. And no leaks. That is what I wanted to make sure. Apparently, these two vac valves on the back can sometimes leak past the seal in the center. And this one, I think the only one you can get is like $80. And I'm not even sure if you can get the little 2-valve one. So the fact that this is working okay and this is good to go is good news. Okay, so I think I'm going to end this here. The brake booster needs to be painted, and I want to also repaint and clean up the wiper motor. So I think I'm going to stop right here, cut the video at this point. Now we've got our AC system back in place, and this thing working like a charm. Oh, I love it. Okay, so this is all good to go, and this is something that I was concerned about. I wanted to make sure this bad boy was okay. I rebuilt the switches, so we'll have to see if the fan works okay once I get power back to it. But for now, I'm glad those vac lines are all checked out. So there's no leaks anywhere in the system. There's no air getting past anywhere. I like that a lot. So we'll end it here, and thanks for watching. Go over to my t-shirt shop, buy a shirt. It helps tremendously in keeping the project going. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. Glad you guys are watching. Have a good one, everybody.